one can only hope that a man who has the range to play hundreds of versions of himself isn't also playing himself. Tonight, this just in, Marvel Studios considers casting Grace Jabari as a new supervillain. Her superpowers being, white woman tears. To our military personnel and their families, thank you for your sacrifice and for your service. And to our black customers, we've got something even better for you. Some fresh lip service. How's that? And Kadarius Toney, you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. You're not that guy, pal. See these stories and more of what we're talking about on this week's episode of The Black Men Show. Welcome to the BS. Now let's go. What is good? What is good, ladies and gentlemen? I am Seven Blackman, and this is The Black Men Show, a place where we can take a look at the news with a little bit of 7 cents. And I mean, honestly, that's about all we can afford these days. But we've got some great gear created for you by our friends at Bandana Boy over at Etsy. So be sure to check them out after the show. But otherwise, hit that like and subscribe. Grab your favorite methodation of relaxation. And now, let's get it. Now, I think everyone has been both actively and passively taking a gander at what's been going on in the world of one Jonathan Majors, former last black man of San Francisco and current black man receiving his wake-up call. Now, if you are familiar with the story, which we have covered here, you know that the Hollywood actor and Creed 3 star and his estranged girlfriend have had quite the back and forth over the past months since their March altercation. But if you're needing a refresher, allow me to elucidate. So in March, Majors was out on a New York shoot with girlfriend Grace Jabari in tow. Towards the end of their Uber, Jabari confronts Majors due to him allegedly receiving a text message from another woman. In an apparent attempt to get a better view of his phone or to actually take the phone from Majors, Jabari strikes and assaults Majors several times. This, according to the Uber driver who was on the scene. Now, at some point, Jabari meets up with random people and ends up hanging out with and drinking with them. Now, also at some point, Majors checks into a hotel. I'm still trying to figure that part out. But that next morning, both Majors and Jabari both wake up in Majors' apartment.
You see me, I run out, I got a shirt open. You see Mike, he half butt naked. Then you see the white girl. So the shit looks like we having one big motherfucking orgy up in here, and ain't nobody hung. I'm telling you.
With Jabari reporting that she had a laceration behind her ear and a broken finger all of a sudden. Shortly after, Majors is arrested and charged with assault. Days after that, Majors accuses Jabari with assault as well, but notably doesn't file official charges until later in June, which led to her arrest in October, resulting in all charges being dropped due to the prosecutor saying the charges lacked, quote, prosecutorial merit, end quote. Even though Majors showed physical evidence of her myriad attacks with the scars that he collected from her outburst. And notably, the video of Jabari following their scuffle didn't show her with a scratch, a scar, or any unencumbered movement due to anything dealing with her fingers, even showing her going as far as like taking down and redoing her hair, diddling her phone, gesticulating in the conversation, all of that. But I digress. Since then, video footage has come out showing that at some point, concluding the Uber ride, Majors physically lifted Jabari up off her feet and put her back into the car before running to the nearby corner with Jabari soon to follow. He seems to be pushing her away, doing his best rendition of Forrest Gump, if you know what I'm saying. Now, these are the facts that we know. So, what are we talking about and why are we talking about it, right? Why are we here? Basically, we have a black man who, on his road to greatness,
Grace has to be in a certain mindset to support Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama's wife. I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. That's real. I'm not being a dick about it. I didn't ask for it. I've worked, and that's the situation.
can't seem to find the Michelle to his Barack, the Betty to his Malcolm, or the Babs Bunny to his Buster. I don't know. No, he just can't find the one apparently. Insert Megan Good here, I guess. You know? So this is just me talking to Jonathan right now. Everybody else, y'all take a second. I'm just talking to Jonathan. So Jonathan, did you know that this woman was not Michelle and not Coretta Scott King? Did you know that she was not any of these? Did you know that she's lacking a key component, a key trait, some may say? Now I understand you're in Hollywood and all that. So maybe just maybe you kind of missed, or don't quite see color. But I'm gonna let you know that the world that you live in does. I'm just saying. So it just seems kind of weird that, you would go to, like, I think your better bet would have been to say something like, I need you to be the Melania to my Donald. Like that probably would have got you more points than that. Then you could just be like, I'm gonna pay for you, buy you things, and your job is just to shut up. One can only hope that a man who has the range to play hundreds of versions of himself isn't also playing himself. I mean, I don't think I'm too far out of my depth by saying this. Dude. Jonathan, you may be a little bit out of touch. I'm just saying. Or aloof, as they say. I mean, dude, you play pretend. You ain't crafting public policy or putting your life on the line for us in any sort of way.
Sorry, I'm late. There was a little snowflake on the elevator, so I had to take the stairs. Me too. Careful, Dre. Someone's out there setting traps.
I don't know.
I mean, you are unable to understand what all of us know to do when we see what is an obvious test, but you want us to see you as Martin Luther the King the Conqueror? That ain't happening. I shouldn't be cracking jokes, especially considering how the trial recently turned out. Just this Monday, December 18th, Majors was found guilty of one count of third-degree misdemeanor reckless aggravated assault and guilty of second-degree harassment, with sentencing to take place on February 6 in 2024. Now, this carries up to a year in prison of time, but I mean, if I'm being honest, I for a first-time offender, I'm seriously doubting that he's going to face anything like that. But with the evidence and how this is played out, I honestly can't help but try to make some light of this. I have to. I have to laugh to keep from crying, honestly, because, like, what happened to being able to protect yourself from theft? 7? What do you mean? There was no theft taking place. Well, that's when you're wrong, because see, when old girl was trying to take his phone, that's theft. And actually, under penal law, Article 35 allows for physical force to be used to stop a crime. And hell, what about the fact that he was being assaulted by this woman? Now, I'm not saying that he didn't do anything to justify it, like some like to say. You made me hit you. Fact remains that he committed the cardinal sin, which we have learned to be the case more times than not. And that, my dear friends, is putting your hands on a woman. We've seen this time and time again that it will never turn out good for any of us. Regardless of the situation or the circumstances, look, we are always going to be wrong. And bonus, if you're a black man and it's a white woman, you was guilty before you even entered the room. Now, I mean, if history has taught us nothing, it's taught us that as a black man, you don't escape cleanly. You just don't get out alive. I mean, from OJ to Bill Cosby, nobody gets out unscathed. And if you decide to touch a white woman, you will pay. Oh, you gonna pay. But I'll leave this situation with you all. So what do you think is gonna be the sentencing that Jonathan is gonna actually face? Like, will Majors and Megan Good actually answer if this convenient relationship that they're in is real? Will Megan Good still be at his side throughout all of this? I mean, if Singer Monica's situation is of any clue with her situation with 1C murder, Them ride or dies ain't what they used to be. And lastly, with him losing out on so many roles from the military to Marvel, what do you think his road to redemption is going to look like? I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, speaking of Hollywood relations going awry, rap duo known for being the Whitney, I guess, of hip hop, Cardi B and Offset seem to have gone as far as their road was going to go as they find themselves at the end of it. So we've got Cardi B basically going on a social media rant of sorts about her husband Offset for apparently leaving Cardi when she feels most vulnerable. And I'm sure that's not a position any of us want to be in.
Yo, this motherfucker really likes to play games with me when I'm at my most vulnerable time, when I'm not the most confident. He likes to play games with me because he knows I'm not an easy girl. He knows yesterday I could have been out, I could have been chilling, I could have been this and that. He knows I'm in my house. He knows that I'm chilling. He knows I'm not doing the most. And I've really been sparing you. And it's so crazy that I gotta go to the fucking internet because whenever I tell you something, you don't take shit serious.
So, we learned that weeks ago, Cardi and Offset mutually unfollowed each other on the socials because that's apparently how you do it nowadays. That's how divorces go. You ain't even got to go to court. You just got to unfollow each other on social media, and apparently that's how divorces happen, kids. The gesture led many to speculate, even in early December, what, if anything, could the act actually mean? I mean, I guess ultimately the question comes out to, could a rapper whose body of work is massively backed by her ability to talk shit in a broken Spanglish New York accent and whose actual body has more alterations than any of my suits, actually work it out with a rhythm rapper from Atlanta who around this time last year lost one of his partners in rhyme? First began the cryptic messages with Cardi first saying, you know when you just outgrow relationships and how I gotta put me first. At least that's how I imagine it sounded when she texted it. But this led to Offset to post some Al Pacino clips from his infamous Scarface movie in which he says, "Who do I trust? Who do I trust? Me. That's who." So, because that's how marriages are handled. You don't handle marriages together collectively. You handle them out in the internet, social media streets. That's what you do. That's how you handle marriages these days, right? Isn't that what the cool kids are doing? Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. I don't know. I just gotta say, for me, I'm glad I'm out of the phase of playing out my real relationship information out for the world to see on the interwebs. I got a little bit of smartness in my old age. You know, these gray hairs kind of produce a little bit of information, just a little bit. Now, maybe it's just me, but I like keeping some things close to the chest when it comes to what I actually put out versus, internet content. Now, that said, I just find it interesting that in a recent rant, Cardi went on to say how she had to go online to tell her story. And that's where I have to push back, although very gently, because we've already seen what Cardi can do when you get information wrong about her. But why do you feel like you have to go online? What happened to discretion? I mean, it's like it don't even matter who is on your team nowadays, because at day's end, it's all about the content. And if I don't leave but tell the story, or if I do leave and tell the story, at the end of the day, it's all content. And all is fair in the world of content, right? Now, personally, I'm of the mindset that you have to be careful how you pick your partner and who you pick. Last thing you need is to be going through some actual feelings while your lover makes a recording of you going through it, Amber Heard, and it's taken out of context for content unconscionably. Now, with that said, I can't wait for China's social scores to hop their ass across the ocean and come on to the United States. Can't wait. But as for Cardi and Offset, I mean, both of y'all are young, your parents, but you're still young, so you still have your lives ahead of you. So in that sense, you don't have much to worry about. But if any relations actually present themselves as fruitful from the men obviously lining up in Cardi's DMs, do you think it'll ultimately be someone like a Cameron or a Charleston White? I guess time can only tell. Moving on. Speaking of Atlanta, have you all seen this?
Bro, she literally ran up It smells like nothing but gas out here. She ran up to the porch, ran up to the plants, poured it all over with gas. Had the lighter, and bro out here, white dude right here, he stopped her, like, and she ran the fuck up.
Just happened to be using a gas can to water the plants.
So this young felonista attempting to burn down Dr. Martin Luther King's childhood home is one Lanisha Henderson of Florida. Apparently, the former naval officer was going through a mental break of sorts, resulting in her family looking for her for several days, and her being found, thankfully, by some off-duty police officers from New York and Utah who just happened to be visiting the National Monument at the time. Henderson, initially dousing the home with gasoline, began acting as if she were using the contents of the gasoline canister to water the plants and shrubbery around the home to throw the cops off the scent. Throw them off the scent of gas? I mean, you know what probably didn't throw them off the scent? The smell of the gas. The smell of the gas where they thought the water should be. Probably didn't do the job that she thought her acting was doing. I mean, but thankfully this woman was peacefully captured, detained, and placed into custody before she was at all able to burn down a piece of history. And I'm glad that she will remain in custody so that hopefully she gets the treatment that she needs. But what do you think should be her sentence? What do you speculate triggered her to want to destroy a national monument in the first place? And let's be real, she may be crazy, but she ain't crazy. I mean, I'm always amazed at how, you know, people will like claim to have a mental lapse or something like that. But their mental lapse is always still measured. It's always within a space that they kind of either understand, know, or know that other people won't give too much of an F about. I mean, because it's rare. It's pretty rare that you hear about somebody going to destroy a student loan office or a tax building or something like that. Not that I'm encouraging it. So you get yourself a relative willing to fight for this country. You beg him over and over to let you use his credentials to get set up. You promise to wash his car at least twice a year. And you do all this so you can get a government bank account at one of those fancy credit unions, USAA or Navy Federal, right? Now, I mean, everybody was trying to get with these financial institutions, which are not banks. And you might want to hold on to that for later, because they had some of the best rates around for first-time home buyers, right? So if you've seen the recent marketing from Navy Federal Credit Union, you'd maybe think that their relationship with African-American and Black customers will be one that's, I don't know, going pretty well, you know. But if a recent report is of any indication, Navy Federal Credit Union doesn't give. No, that's it. They just don't give. They don't give, especially to Black people, at least not at the same rates that they do to others or at the same rates that they've done before. So according to a CNN report, as early as 2018, the approval rates between Black and white home loan applicants was only about 11.5 points difference, whereas as late as 2022, the difference was as wide as 29 percentage points, with the white applicants being approved at a rate of about 77% versus Black applicants who were approved at less than 50% of the time. And this is the worst rate of difference among the top 50 lenders across the nation. Now, interestingly, the disparity remains the same when factoring in debt-to-income ratios and income. But even more notable was the fact that more white applicants who made less than $62,000 a year were approved than Black applicants who made more than twice that. Now, CNN reported that this was all based on public information, showing an obvious discrepancy, but Navy Federal pushes back, stating that other factors that CNN was unable to see in the public data may have been used, like credit, like individual credit scores, credit history, whether the applicant had her boobs out that day, and of course, whether the loan officer decided to help the applicant cross the line if they felt they were, really close, stuff like that. Now, of course, there's no way to prove the latter, and that's the beauty of discrimination. You can do it and never fully admit to the fact that you're doing it, and blame the outcomes on anything. I mean, it could be because your credit score was low, or you didn't wear the right color that day, or you yourself, you weren't the right color that day. And sure, this may sound like the rantings of someone just crying victim, but even a report gives some insight into what may also be leading to some of these loan rejections. So what I'm about to outline to you is what they call systemic messed up lineage. Let's call it that. So let's say you have a blue collar parent, right? They work 40 plus hours at some barely getting by rate to afford a decent living. Let's say they don't own their own home, so they pay rent. Now, as a result of working for a low wage and paying rent, it's likely gonna be a long time before they're able to move up to get to a home. Why? Because of the things the banks take into account to measure one's credit worthiness. Now, up until recently, stuff like your rent payment or car payment or your utilities wasn't even included. But today they do take those into account, right? Well, some do. Meanwhile, others like credit unions, because remember, like I said, credit unions are not banks. Credit unions basically aren't obligated to change practices or to take on loans that they, by whatever metric, deem as risky. So for them, they're going to keep businesses normal while giving you the gaslighting lip service that you absolutely deserve. Saying things like, Navy Federal Credit Union is committed to equal and equitable lending practices and strict adherence to all fair lending laws. Further outlining practices used to ensure fairness across the board, right? Okay, so if they're doing all that they can to be fair, what's going on? Perhaps it could be something that I've outlined several times here on the show, and it's proving to be more of an issue than I imagined. So let's say, okay, just to keep everything fair, because I don't want anybody to be offended. Let's say that there are purple people in the world, and maybe there are, and I apologize if you're feeling discriminated against or singled out in this example. But I haven't seen any real ones other than Barney and whatever. So I'm just saying. So let's say that there are purple people. I don't like purple people. So if I want to exclude purple people without making it seem like I'm intentionally doing so, I can create programs or design applications that can do the discriminating for me. That way, well, it's not me that's doing it. It's the machine. It's the machine. The machine is doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be held accountable for what the machine does, even though I'm the creator of the machine. Once it's been outlined in the book, Algorithms of Oppression, and even in CNN's report. So while factors like rent or utility pay may be used to show creditworthiness, it could also be used to preclude applicants just as well. Think about it. They could put on the application, does this, they could put, I won't say in the application, but they could put into the program that's reading the applications, does this customer pay rent? Okay, they pay rent, excluded. Next, and you'll never be any the wiser. So what are you to do? Well, if you're an applicant like the ones in the CNN report, you'll be lucky to just find another lending institution after being turned down by Navy Federal. But if you find no luck in doing so and would rather seek retribution, you can join the numbers of applicants forming to sue Navy Federal Credit Union for its unfair lending practices as a result of this CNN report. So what's gonna happen? A settlement, a fine at most, which at this point is merely just the cost of doing business. I mean, it still won't get most of those people in their homes. So what is the real solution here? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. And lastly, now, haven't we been here before? I know this time feels very familiar. Wasn't it just last week that we were talking about the play of one Kadarius Toney, seen here looking like unemployment, who ruined what would have been one of the greatest plays of the year, if not in the entire NFL. Didn't we just do this? I mean, this guy, right? So, okay. So this past weekend, the Chiefs did their thing in Foxborough against the lowly Patriots, who gave them a little bit of a battle, but you know, the Chiefs doing their thing for what it's worth, pulled out a decisive victory that they sorely needed. What they didn't need was another indication of how bad the receiving core is.
From the 24-yard line, over the middle, Toney juggles and it's picked by Jelani to right.
Now, I can honestly say, I would rather take the Bears receivers over the Chiefs. Now, because the Bears got 99 problems, but a catch ain't one. Well, damn it, Mooney! Shit. But all that to say, two things real quick. Kadarius Toney.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Okay. He's not that guy. Even though he tries to act like he is and throws these tantrums like all you got to do is get the ball to him and everything's going to be fine. Does this look like the quarterback who thinks that things are fine? Bruh. And secondly, the team is starting to give Eagles vibes. And I'm not talking about today's Eagles or the Eagles that you played in the Super Bowl last year. I'm talking about Andy Reid's Eagles. You know, the ones that were one game from winning it all. And I mean, he had a diva wide receiver that he couldn't control then either. Even though he was able to come through when they needed him, the team as a group were not able to cross the finish line. And that's kind of what it's looking like right now from these Chiefs. Just from a spectator's perspective, merely. Now, granted, Andy ain't got the quarterback that he had back then of who was hurling on the sidelines due to the pressure, but still, KT.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
You are not that guy. You are not that guy. I know a team that's lacking discipline when I see it. That's what they lost when they gave up Eric Bieniemy going over to the Washington Commandos or Commodores or Commandants or Commodore 64, whatever their names is. Y'all lost. Y'all when y'all gave up Eric Bieniemy to them, that was when y'all messed up. See what happens when you kick the man out of the house, ladies? It ain't always a good thing. But that's where we have to leave this one. Which story stood out to you? I'd love to know your thoughts on any of them, or just the show in general. But with that said, this has been The Black Man Show. Once again, I have been Seven Blackman, and you can get a shirt like this at the Etsy store, found at the link, or you can also find it in the description. Or you can win one by being our 250th subscriber. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Share this video with all your baby, grand, and electric pianos. Baby mamas, electric mamas. As we continue to grow this thing out, hit us up at showtheblackman@gmail.com for the Ask a Black Man segment or for any other reason. And of course, you can follow the show on all the socials at Show the Black Man. Thank you all for watching this far. Get caught up on some of our earlier episodes and go buy a shirt. I appreciate each and every one of you. So please, until next time, you all take care of each other. Peace. And we out.